Hi, welcome to the Science Chef Academy. I am Gabtech, your ICT tutor. Today, we shall be looking at ICT Cambridge IGCSE Paper 3 for October-November 2021. Paper 3 consists of data analysis and website authoring. Don't forget, in our previous videos, we have looked at Paper 2 of the same year. Paper 3 is also 2 hours 30 minutes long. It consists of data analysis and website authoring. In Paper 3, it's very important that we walk through all the source files that have been given to us so we know how to organize our work. Very important. In this particular video, we'll be dealing with data analysis using Microsoft Excel. The entire Paper 3 question is 80 marks. So let's see the source files that have been given to us in this question. We have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of the source files we'll be using, and it has been supplied. We have that in our source file folder. Then on task 1 is evidence document. We have been asked to prepare our evidence document, and that is what we are going to do right now. Create a new word process document. Make sure your name, center number, and candidate number will appear on every page of this document. So we go to the source file folder to check our source file. This is source file folder, and these are the 4 files, 10 of them. So to create a new word process document, right click on an empty space, go to new, and click on word document. So call it evidence document. Then double click to open. So insert your header, 3-column header. The instruction says make sure your name, center number, and candidate number will appear on every page. So we ensure this one is done. Your name, center number, candidate number on every page of the document. So you put your name, center number, in my case I'll use 1, 2, 3, 4, and candidate number 5, 6, 7. Then create evidence 1. You can increase and bolden the size of the text, so you can duplicate it so that you have template for your evidences. So let's see other instruction. Save this evidence document in your work area as N21 evidence underscore followed by your center number, candidate number, for example, like this. So we can copy this, so we edit it, center number, then candidate number. So go to save as. We could have saved it with the correct name right from the point of creating it. Followed by center number 1, 2, 3, 4 underscore candidate number 5, 6, 7 in my case. Then you save. The next instruction says you will need your evidence document during the examination to place screenshots when required. So we are done with task 1, which is evidence document. So we are going to the next one, which is task 2. And that's exactly what we want to do which is data analysis using a spreadsheet package. Data analysis using a spreadsheet package. That's what we want to do right now. You work for a company planning to recycle plastic waste washed up on the beaches of many islands in the Maldives. You will create a spreadsheet to calculate the cost of a return journey from the recycling center to an island to collect this plastic waste. All currency values must be in US dollars displayed to 2 decimal places. This particular instruction, we have to bear it in mind, so we can highlight it with a different color to tell us that it's an important point to note. So let me quickly change the highlight color. Perhaps let me make it red. So I use that. US dollars and displays to 2 decimal places. Then number 1, open and examine the file n21island.csv in a spreadsheet package. This file will be used to provide data for your spreadsheet, and the data must not be copied or the file changed. So open and examine the file n21cost.csv in your spreadsheet. So these 2 files will be opened right now. So I open the file island, double click on it. Then I open the second file, which is cost. So this is the island file. You can see code, island name, atoll, distance from the recycling plant. We have 3 columns, and since the data in this file is arranged vertically, because we have the name of each column arranged vertically like this, then for the lookup it will be VLOOKUP, vertical lookup. Then the other file, which is cost, this is cost file, and we have 3 columns here, 1 2 3 columns. So this is the file we'll be working on. Place in the footer, right aligned, the text cost prepared by. So I copy this, cost prepared by, followed by a space, your name, comma, center number and candidate number, then a space followed by on, followed by a space and today's automated dates. So we go to insert the footer according to the instruction. Insert. We go to insert, header and footer. To confirm, the question says in the footer. So click on go to footer. Go to footer. In my case, the center number I'm using is 1 2 3 4. Candidate number 567. Then a space followed by on and today's automated dates. Today's automated date. Then I go to current date. So it is until I click out before I see it in action. So I have cost prepared by, Idowu Gabriel, center number, candidate number, then on the so date, today's date. The next instruction says save this as a spreadsheet with the file name n21 cost underscore center number. So I copy this underscore candidate number, for example, like this. So it's going to follow this format. So I go to file, save as. The reason why we need to save it as a spreadsheet file is because originally the file was given to us as a CSV file. If you don't save it as a spreadsheet file, all the formula and the formatting you have done will be lost if you close the file. So that's why it's important it is saved as a spreadsheet file. So in this case, I'm going to save it as the save as type will be Excel file. Save as type will be Excel workbook. Then the question says we should change the name to n21 cost underscore center number, in my case 1234 underscore candidate number 567. So I save it in the same folder. Then that is done. So it's now a spreadsheet file. All this will earn you 3 marks. Then the next instruction, which is number 2, insert 2 new rows above row 1. Very quickly, 2 new rows above row 1. Can click on normal view. Yes, so just right click, say insert above row 1, 2 new rows according to the instruction. That is done. Then merge cells A1 to C1 and enter the text cost of plastic remover for 1 island. So I'm copying this. Merge cells A1 to C1. This is cells A1 to C1. Merge it. Format the merged cell A1 to C1 to contain white 26-point text on a dark blue background. Very quickly, white 26-point text. Click on it, color white 26-point text on a dark blue background. So I go to fill, dark blue background. Yes, that is done. Then format the spreadsheet to look like this. For it to look like this, so that's what we quickly do. So we can see that the model given on the question paper has the text in the first row to be wrapped. So we are going to do that and look at first column. All the data in first column are right aligned, and all the ones in third column are left aligned. All the ones except for cell B11 in column 2 are also right aligned. So these are the things we are going to do very quickly. So select this text alignment, right aligned. All these are left aligned. Then all these are right aligned. So except for this, that is like this by default. Also discover that the text here wrapped, so I'm going to make sure that the text I have there wrapped. So I click on this cell with the text and I click on wrap text. Also discover that the first row has the height increased. The first row has the height increased. So I'm going to do that so that I can have something like this. So I come here. Yes, it's looking like it gradually. Then row 2 height is decreased. Row 2 is decreased. The height of row 2 is a bit decreased. So I think it's very close now. Very close. Since they didn't actually tell us the type of fonts to use, so they didn't tell us whether it is a sans serif or serif, but by default the text here is sans serif and it looks like the one on the question paper. So I'm going to have it that way. So the next thing the question is saying, so all these things will fetch you 3 marks. So in cell B12, enter a function to look up the name of the island using the code entered in cell B11. So we are putting the function in cell B12. Cell B12. So you click here. Every function and formula starts with equality sign. So since we have checked the file we'll be using and our data is arranged vertically, so we are using VLOOKUP. VLOOKUP, and then cell B11 will serve as the lookup value. That's the first argument, comma, table array. The table array will be the other file. So select the table array from A2 to the last one, then put a comma. So the next thing is column index. Let's take the question again. The question says, in cell B12, enter a function to look up the name of the island using the code entered in cell B11. So to do that, we are checking the name of the island. So going back, the name of the island is actually on column 2. So our column index number will be 2 because that is on column 2. Then we pick exact match. With that, it has returned the value, the name of the island. So the next question is, in cell B13, enter a function to look up the distance of the island from the recycling plant. The distance of the island from the recycling plant. So to do this is very simple. Use VLOOKUP again. The distance, VLOOKUP, you are using the same lookup value. Go to the other file that serves as our table array. Select, comma. Since we are looking for the distance is in that file is on column 4. So our column index number will be 4. Since distance is column 4, then we pick exact match. And we have that 75 miles. So the next, that is 3 marks question, 3 marks. Then the next one says, in cell B14, enter a formula to calculate the total distance traveled to the island and back. Total distance to calculate the distance traveled to the island and back. So to do this is also very simple. Now we can see that if it takes a particular person, if it takes a body to travel for 75 miles, the return distance will be times 2. So what we are going to have here is going to be equals this multiplied by 2, because that's the return distance. That means that is done. That distance is covered twice, to and fro. Then the next instruction says, in cell B15, enter a formula to calculate the number of hours the return journey will take. This is calculated as return distance all divided by operating speed multiplied by the content of cell B6. Then later they say we should round this time up to the nearest OR. We're coming to this. So the first thing we need to do is calculate the number of hours the return journey will take. This is return distance divided by operating speed multiplied by content of cell B6. So the first thing we need to do is to find the operating speed multiplied by the content of cell B6, all in brackets. Then we now use that to divide the return distance. So let's quickly do that. Find the return journey time. Get that done is very simple. Return journey time will be equals to return distance. This return distance divide, since we have two variables there, we open a bracket, and that will be operating speed multiplied by the content of B6, and this is cell B6. So that is that. So we have gotten that. So then the next instruction under that says round this time up to the nearest whole number. To round it up is very simple. We are using a function, round up function. So what you have here, just bring your cursor into this cell. You can just double click and bring your cursor here after the equality sign. Then type round up, and the syntax of round up is the number you are rounding up, which is the whole of this formula. Then to the nearest whole number will be 0. To the nearest, to round it up to the nearest hour. So then we have that to be 9 hours. So that is done again. So let's go to the next instruction. In cell B16, enter a formula to calculate the fuel used for the journey. This is calculated as return journey time multiplied by fuel consumption. So that's very simple. To know the fuel used is very simple. Return time multiplied by fuel consumption. So let's quickly do that. Return journey time that is B15 multiplied by the fuel consumption, which is on B4 per hour. So we have that, and then the next instruction says in cell B17, enter a formula to calculate the fuel cost for the journey. The cost for the journey, that is very simple. So this is cell B17. I want to calculate the fuel cost for the journey. So to calculate the fuel cost for the journey, very simple. We start with equality sign, then we multiply the fuel used for the journey, which is cell B16, multiplied by the fuel cost per liter. So if per liter it costs $1.121, and eventually the journey has consumed 925.2 liters, so we multiply the two together to find the fuel cost for the journey. So we press enter, so we find that. So the next instruction is very simple, which is question number 10. In cell B18, enter a formula so that if the return journey time is less than 10 hours, it displays the value 4. If it is greater than or equal to 10 hours and less than or equal to 15 hours, it displays the value 6. If it is greater than 15 hours, it displays the value 9. Now, since we have more than one condition, then we are using nested if. Anytime we have more than one condition, we make use of nested if. Or certainly we know that we are using if function because the question is asking us to do something based on a particular condition. So we start with that. Start equals if. The syntax of if is logical test, comma value if true, comma value if false. So we do that very quickly. So if, let's check the instruction again so that we'll be sure. If the return journey time is less than 10 hours, it displays the value 4. Less than 10 hours return journey. If the return journey time, so return journey time is in cell B15. So if B15 is less than 10, then return 4. So that is normal if, because we have done the value if true, which is this. So since we have another if, we'll put another if. So let's check the question again and be sure, which is if it is greater than or equal to 10 hours and less than or equal to 15 hours, it displays the value 6. So we can do this in a couple of ways. So we can come and do this. If it is greater than 15, then it should return 9, otherwise it should return 6. So it's still the same thing. It's very possible to do that. So since this particular second condition is having greater than or equal to and less than at the same time, and we do not want to make use of AND function, so we can just come to this, and because we know that after we have specified the value if true, the other one will automatically be false. So let's quickly do that. If it's greater than 15 hours, it displays the value 9. If a greater than 15, it display 9. If not, so any condition out of these two conditions we have specified, the first condition was if it is less than 10, it should return 4. The second condition we just specify is if it's greater than 15, it should return 9. So any other value out of those less than 10 and greater than 15 should return 6. So we can logically state it that way. So we close the first bracket, close the second bracket, and we have this. Then what we have now is because what we actually have is 9, it will return 4 because that is less than 10. So let us try, maybe we'll put if we try to change it and put another value, we can see that it will automatically change here. So that is very simple. So the next instruction is in cell B19, enter a formula to calculate the cost of the crew for the return journey. We want to calculate the cost of the crew for the return journey. Each journey will have 2 crew members paid at crew rate A, and the other crew members will be paid at crew rate B. So that's what we are going to do. So let's carefully, simplify the question. In cell B19, enter a formula to calculate the cost of the crew for the return journey. Each journey will have 2 crew members paid at crew rate A, and the other crew members will be paid at crew rate B. So let's quickly do that. Cost of crew, that's what we want to find right now. So don't forget to calculate the cost of crew. The question again, let's look at the question to double check. It said in cell B19, enter a formula to calculate the cost of the crew for the return journey. Each journey will have 2 crew members paid at crew rate A, and the other crew members will be paid at crew rate B. It means that for each journey, the crew, 2 out of the crew, no matter their number, 2 out of the crew members will be paid according to the rate A for crew rate. Then the remaining number of crew members will be paid at rate B. So that is very simple. So to do that, we start with equality sign to calculate the cost of crew, that will be total return journey time. So that will be P15 multiplied by, then we open bracket. Why are we opening bracket? Because we just want to take 2 out of the total number of crew members. That will be 2 multiplied by, and we are multiplying by the crew rate A. Yes, be done, plus the remaining, since we have removed 2 out of the total number of crew, so that will be this. That will be 2 multiplied by, using the crew rate A, you're using that to multiply, then plus, open another bracket, the total number of crew minus 2, and that will be multiplied by, the crew rate B. So that's how to do that. So the simple logic there is that we are using B15, which is total return journey time, which is 9 in this case, multiplied by, we want to use the number of crew members to find the cost of crew, but we need to pick 2 out of them, multiply it by B7. B7 is the crew rate A. So we are using that. We are now adding it to the remaining, because we have removed 2. That's why we are subtracting by 2. Here we are subtracting 2 from B18. That is whatever the total number of crew required for the journey will be. We are removing the 2 and multiplying by the rate of crew rate B. So for us to have the total number of total cost of crew that will be required for the journey, and that is very simple. So we press enter. So we have that. So let's go to the next instruction. So, and that is about number 11. The next instruction is, in cell B20, enter a formula to calculate the total costs of the journey, which includes fuel, the crew, and port taxes. So these are the 3 things we are adding together for us to get the total cost of the journey, the total cost of fuel use, the crew cost, and the port taxes. So these are the things we are adding together for us to get that cost of the journey. So that's very simple as well. So come here, start with equals to total cost of crew plus, let's confirm the instruction, include the fuel, the crew, and port taxes. The fuel total, okay, this total cost fuel for the fuel, that's the port taxes. So we have that. So then we press enter. So it's very simple. If you look at what we have done, very simple. So let's see the next instruction. So number 13, apply appropriate formatting to cells containing numeric values in the spreadsheet. So to apply appropriate formatting, remember where we started, there was an instruction we highlighted in color red because they may not refer to that throughout the question, but we know it's very important. The instruction is all currency values must be in US dollars and displayed to 2 decimal places. So we quickly do that, and that is one of the appropriate formatting that we need to do. So fuel cost, go to US dollars. So we pick US dollars to 2 decimal places. Then accrue rate to US dollars. Then taxes should also be in currency US dollar. Then fuel costs also should be so then cost of crew, total cost of journey, the two of them also should be. So we ensure that nothing is hidden. So all this has been done. So having applied appropriate formatting, I think we have done that perfectly. So let's go to the next instruction. The next instruction says save your spreadsheets. Save your spreadsheet. So to save it, just click on save icon here. Yes, it has been saved. And the next instruction, print your spreadsheet showing the formulae. Make sure the row and column headings are displayed. Grid lines are displayed. Page orientation is in landscape. Content of all cells are fully visible and can be easily read. So the first thing is for us to print and show the formula that we have used. To show the formula is very simple. So go to formula, the menu, then you click on show formula. So the next thing is for the page layout, the orientation should be landscape. Remember, if the paper size you are using, so that nothing will break when you print, is A4, set your A4. Yes, having done that, then the next instruction again says grid lines are displayed, row and column headings are displayed. So let's quickly do that. Row and column headings are displayed. You can actually do that in two ways or a couple of ways. You can come to print titles, click on it, print titles, then you click on grid lines should display, row and column headings should display. What other thing is the instruction asking for? Page orientation, landscape, we have done that. Content of all cells are fully visible and can be easily read. So we need to check that, and the best way to check that is we go through our print preview. So let's see the way it looks. Print preview. So from the print preview, now we can see that some things are still hidden here. So the first thing we need to do, go back and make sure we do auto content feeds. So I'll come here, double tap this grid line to ensure that yes, nothing is hidden. Yes, perfectly fits, nothing is hidden. Then I go back again to print preview to ensure that nothing is hidden. So this is the way it looks, but I think it remains one more thing. Let me quickly do that. From the model given to us on the question paper, we realize that this title, let's go to home, is also vertically and horizontally aligned. Vertically and horizontally aligned. So I've done that to center. So I think everything is intact now. It is good for printing. Then I go to print preview. Then you need to confirm that the name, and other details you have put are visible before printing. So I think this is intact. This is intact. This is intact and good for printing. So, but before printing, let me see the question again. So the question says, content of all cells are fully visible and can be easily read. Make sure that you have entered your name, center number. So I will call this one printout 1 before printing. It is good for me so that I can save it as printout 1. Let me go to save as, having set every thing they ask us to do. So I'll call it printout 1 so that in case I want to refer to it, maybe I need to make changes after it has come out of the printer, I can call it a printout 1. Printout 1. So I can refer to it in case I need to make any adjustments. So then it is good to be printed now. So next thing is just for me to print. So since it is good, every condition given in the question paper has been applied, then I will just hit the print button, then it comes out of the printer. So let's continue and see the next instruction. So that is that. The next instruction is print your spreadsheet showing the values. Make sure the printout fit on a single portrait page. Row and column headings are not displayed. Green lines are not displayed. Content of all cells are fully visible and can be easily read. So this is another printout I'm going to have. This is printout 2. So I'm going to quickly do that. I'm printing values now. So I go back to formulas tab. So I click on show formula so that I return to values. So before I print, you can see that little adjustment has been done. So we need to adjust that again to ensure that we have the right according to the model given to us in the question. So nothing should be hidden. If I look at let me quickly look at the printout, the template given on the question paper is following what I'm having. So cost of plastic, yes, it's correct. So I have this, everything is intact, printing the values according to the instruction. So then the said page layout, it should be portraits. It should be portraits. What else? It should be portraits. Let me see the question again. It should be portraits. Green line should not display. Row and column heading should not display. Okay, let me quickly adjust that. So I come to print titles. Print titles. I remove green lines, row and column headings. I go to print preview. So I look at the way it will come out from printer. Yes, this is the way it will appear when it is printed from the printer. So this is exactly the way it will look. I've removed the row and column heading. I've removed the green lines also. So this is intact, very intact. Let me confirm the instruction again. Content of all cells are fully visible. Green lines are not displayed. Row and column headings are not displayed. Printout fit on a single portrait page. So that is intact. Then I need to check if the header and footer are still there. So I scroll to see that, okay, still there. So in case you want to adjust your header and footer, you can click on this show margins to adjust it in case it's not showing properly from the printer. So you can adjust that and scroll up and down and see, oh, this is fine, this is okay. So before I print, I will also call this printout 2 according to the instructions. So I save it printout 2. This is necessary in case you want to make adjustment after you have received your printout. You realize you need to make changes, so you know which of the files to open and go straight to whatever corrections you want to make. And notice that as I'm saving in spreadsheet format. Very important. So the next instruction, let's see. Change the data to calculate the cost of plastic removal from the island with the code G5. So I'm changing the code G5. So let's click go there. So instead of island code M1, I'm changing to G5. So when I press enter, so it gives me the name of the island and other properties of that particular island. So the next instruction is print your spreadsheet showing the values. Make sure the printer fit on a single portrait page. Row and column headings are not displayed. Content of all cells are fully visible. So just like the one we did previously. So the same thing I'm going to do, only that the island code has been changed from M1 to G5. So I quickly do this. Print again. I go to print preview to see the way it looks. Print preview. Okay, it looks good. And then okay, the footer is there and everything is intact. So I have that. So I'm going to call this one printout 3 according to the instruction. Save as before I hit the print button. So I'll save it and call it printout 3. Printout 3, and I save it. Save as type to be Excel workbook. So let me check the next instruction and see what we have to do. Number 17. Open and examine the file n21charts.csv. Open and examine. So let's quickly do that. Open and examine that. So I open n21charts. That is this. Double click to open. This is the file. Okay. So seeing what we have there, this could represent a toe. This particular column heading a toe, and this will be average distance. Average distance. So let's go to the next instruction. Cells B2 to B10 must calculate the average distances from the recycling center to the islands in each atoll, rounded to the nearest mile. Please, we don't need to forget this. Rounded to the nearest mile. Okay, let me use color red to show that is very important. So, rounded to the nearest mile. Enter a formula in cell B2 that displays the average distance for the islands in the first atoll, and then replace this formula into cells B3 to B10. So let's look at it carefully, step by step. So this is the file we just opened. This is the file we just opened. And the file we just opened is this. This is it. So I want to calculate average distance. If you see, let's look at the island file. You see that we have, if you group this, we are going to have all these atoll, Gafu, leaf, Dalu, and so on and so forth. So we are going to have that. It has been sorted, and we have that in this. So we want to find the average distance for each of these atoll. So if you do it like this manually, just to confirm that if you have something like this, I want to find average for all this. For example, for this Gafu, that's the question average. The question asks for the average. So I'm picking just for this first atoll, which is Gafu. So I'm selecting all the distances covered for Gafu. Then I got this. So, but let's go to the file where we are actually going to do it according to the instruction. So I'll come here. Since we have all the atoll, sorted out, it is best to use average if, since the question asks us for average. So I'm going to make use of average if. Average if functions like sum if. So I pick it. Look at the three arguments we have in the function: the range, criteria, and average range. This range is the range that contains the criteria. Now the criteria we want to use here is the atoll. All the atoll will serve as the criteria we are using here. But if you go back to the other file, we see that the other file, which is island, we also have the atoll column here. So this will serve as our range. This will serve as our range for the criteria. So let's go back and get it done. So again, the function is asking for the range. So we are picking the range that contains this criteria that we want to use here from the other file. So you see, since we are making use of atoll there, so I'm going to click on atoll, and since I'm clicking on another spreadsheet, different from where the function started from. So it's going to absolute the cell reference. So I'm going to pick this, the whole of this will serve as my range, comma, then I go back to what from the other file. After that, the next thing is criteria. This will serve as my criteria because I want to calculate for each of the 8 rows. So this will serve as my criteria. Then the next one is average range. That will be the range that contains the distances I want to find the average. So I will go back to this and I will pick this from the beginning, which is the distances. Then I've selected that. Then I close the bracket and I press enter. Now if you look at it very carefully, you see that I got 220.6 miles, just like when I did rough calculation here. That was the same thing I got when I did rough calculation here, 220.6. So this one is just to confirm. So this here I will know that what I've done is correct. So having done that, let's check the question again so that we'll be sure we are in line with the question. Enter a formula in cell B2 that displays the average distance for the islands in the first 8 rows, and then replicate this formula into cells B3 to B10. So it will be easier now to replicate the function of the formula, so to say. Now having done this, it will be easier to replicate to B10. Then I have this. But before that, I think the question asked that we should round it. Okay. It said rounded to the nearest mile. So even I should have done that before replication, rounded to the nearest mile. So then I go back, rounded to the nearest mile. Okay, to the nearest mile. So I click on this and I use round to the nearest. So not necessarily round up or round down. So I'm going to use round here, and then I put comma 0, so to the nearest. So then I press enter to see what I have done. So that's rounded it to the nearest mile. So now I can replicate. Yes, and that has been done successfully. So the next instruction is create and fully label an appropriate chart to display this data. So this is also very simple to display this data. So I'll just select the data here, and since we have 2 columns like this, I think the most appropriate will be column chart. Yes, column chart. Don't forget the instruction says we should properly label it. It should be fully labeled. So let's get that done. So said create and fully label an appropriate chart to display this data. So I can call the chart average distance covered by each of the ATO. Average distance covered so average distance covered average distance of islands in each atoll from the recycling center. Also, I might need to insert the axis title. So this will be the atoll is island, the island atoll, and this is miles cover or distance covered in miles. Covered in miles. I think this is good enough. So this is good enough. The next thing is save this as a spreadsheet. To save as a spreadsheet, just go to File, Save As. Don't forget the original file was a CSV file, so we need to change the file format to spreadsheet file. So I can call it a toe chart spreadsheet. I change the save as type to Excel workbook according to the instruction. Then the next instruction is, we have saved it. Next instruction is take a screenshot of the formula used to calculate the average distances. Place this in your evidence document. Make sure that all formula are fully visible and can be easily read. Okay, take the screenshot of the formula used. So just go to click out from the chart, then go to formula, then click on show formulas, then click on this such that every cell content will be fully visible. Then take the screenshots so that I can pick the row and column heading. Evidence 1, paste that. So the next one, according to the instruction, then take a screenshot, place this in your, okay, I've done that. Evidence 2, take a copy of your chart, place this in your evidence document. Make sure that all data and labels are fully visible. So that one is also take a copy. So to take a copy, just click on the chart from the chart area. Click on the chart, then right click and copy, or just press Ctrl C. Go to the evidence document, evidence 2, and paste the chart you have copied. Make sure that everything is fully visible according to the instruction. Yes, it's fully visible. This is correct. Okay. Also for the chart, we can also add to the chart element. Maybe we'll probably put data labels. Okay, that's also correct. We can do that since they didn't tell us specifically what to do, just to have it fully labeled. So including this will also fetch us the complete mark for the question. Paper 3 is 80 marks, but only spreadsheet has taken 55 out of 80. That's quite much, and that's why we can't afford not to do every task correctly. Very important. So this is very, very, very correct. So we have come to the end of the spreadsheet aspect of paper 3, October-November 2021. There is a popular saying that you can't get what it gives if you don't give what it takes. So constant practice, following instruction will fetch you your desired grade in IGCSE ICT exam. If you are following us from our previous videos till this current one, then you see that you can actually have your desired grade. Don't forget to give us a like, drop a comment, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and share the videos. Stay tuned until I come your way in the next video for the completion of this paper 3. Bye for now.